Jayaprakash Narayan, do you feel actually that in fact the kind of moral leadership, say that a Nehru had or that a Gandhi had in the world, where India stood for something, India's values stood for something, that kind of leadership in the world at the moment, India is failing to provide because there are no such figures, there are no such towering figures to give India that identity?
Sagarika, it's not merely a question of one or two towering figures. It's a whole governance system, a long-term vision, and the nation's economic and military capabilities. I disagree with Manish Tiwari when he says we're already on the high table. A country of 16% of global population, even if it's doing horribly badly, would still be at the high table. That doesn't mean much at all. Look at India's economic record. We started off at 2% of the global GDP in 1947. We went down to 1% of the global GDP by 1991. We came back to 2% again today. Our role is abysmally small even today. Whereas the Emerging Markets Forum, they say that by 2039, if we do the right things now and have the right kind of leadership, we could well be the second largest economy in the world after China, overtaking the United States. We are nowhere near that. It's possible, the potential exists, but we simply don't have a strategic vision or the leadership, not merely at one level, but across the country.
So would you emphasize the leadership crisis, or would you also say that, you know, it's governance standards, population growth, terrorism and insurgency, so leaders are to some extent helpless because of the context they find themselves in? Or can leadership actually make that difference? By definition,
a leader cannot be helpless. A leader's role is to really change the course of the country. If things are all wonderful, why do you require leaders? Bureaucrats can manage the country. You require leadership because you require strategic vision, you require innovation, you require risk-taking, you require the capacity to reconcile conflicting interests in a complex society. All these are political functions. Therefore, of all the things that you mentioned, two of them are critical to me and both are related to leadership. One is strategic vision leadership. The second is governance system. These two cannot be dealing from leadership itself.
Mona Shah, strategic vision. 72% saying that India simply does not have a strategic vision. Does this show kind of disconnect perhaps between the young India, the forward-looking India, perhaps the India of people like you who are professional and want to see the country grow, and yet the kind of arcane feudal political system that we have? So a frustrated public looking at lack of vision, lack of strategic vision from the leadership.
Of course it is. If you look at the way in which the criminals are gaining entry into the politics today, 50% of the recently concluded Maharashtra Assembly has criminal records. And there's a 20 to 25% increase in the number of criminals in the parliament. So with this kind of leadership that we have to look up to, there is going to be frustration on the part of the youth, and there is going to be complete apathy that is going to ensue as a result of these things.